So it's been an interesting few weeks. A couple of things around Buddhism that happened over the last couple of weeks. Start by talking about the fundamental Buddhist belief that there is one thing that there are several things that all living beings have in common. That is, you're born, you suffer, and you die. Suffering is not the typical Western definition where you're, tied to a chair or you're, out in a storm or you're being tortured or whatever. Suffering is really a state of mind where your mind is out of control, focused on the past, focused on the future. We've all had the racing mind. You can't calm your mind. And one of the key teachings in Buddhism is how to control that, how to slow your mind and focus on the present. Always stay in the present. Okay? So anyway, couple of things. My wife is really devout Buddhist, and as you've seen from her videos, and we have a friend that's a fairly high-level monk in one of the Wats up in northeast Thailand, a little north of where we live now. He's a fairly young guy, and he's had some physical problems. And he was in the hospital recently, and they come here in Khon Kaen, where we live, is a regional teaching hospital attached to the university. There's a heart center there and everything, and he came down here and was admitted to the hospital. So we went to see him. So we go to the hospital. There's a 14-story building, and we go in and we go to the 10th floor. Turns out the 10th floor is the monk floor, the 10th and 11th floor. I mean, I never really thought about it, but monks get special treatment in Thai society, right? Especially the older, more venerable ones. And he's fairly senior, so we come up to the 10th floor and the door opens, and there's the nurse's station and all kinds of hubbub and activity going on. And as we walk, he's in a room they tell us he's in a room on the opposite side of the floor. So we have to basically circumnavigate the entire floor to get to his special room. And it was just wild, right? There must be like 150 monks laying about on beds, and, the lower level monks, are all in a big room like an army, like a basic training, where it's just a big room with a bunch of cots in it, or beds, metal frame beds. And then the higher up you go, the bigger the private room they get. And so he's in a room with 3 or 4 of his monks from his Wat, and people bringing him food and everything. I'm going to do a bunch of videos on the Buddhist experience here. It's been really, 20 years ago, I didn't understand it. 15 years ago, I found it annoying. 10 years ago, I kind of started getting interested, and my wife has guided me patiently. Anyway, that's another story. So that was the one story, is finding the Buddhist floor at the hospital and seeing all these monks in their robes, right, in various states of repose and meditation and everything else. The other is about dying, right? So I'm getting up there now, as are many of my followers who are pretty much the same age I am. And so you start thinking about it, right? But if you think about it in terms of the way the Buddhists think about it, you're born, you live, and you die. And it's just part of life, and you can't get too worked up about it. You can't cling, they call it clinging too much, to try and, hang on. Of course, you take care of yourself and you try to be healthy and eat healthy and all that, but you can't fixate on it. And that's helped me quite a lot, especially with some health problems I've had recently, which are all hopefully behind me now. But anyway, in the Western world, at least my experience has been, and I'm welcome to hear anybody who has a different experience. when a person is in their last days and suffering and perhaps in a coma or in and out of a semi-coma state, usually his family close by. And that's it, really. The family is with you at the end there. And then once you've passed and the funeral, and then you have the wake, and that's when everybody comes, right? And remembers you, hopefully in a positive way. But here, this happened to me many times, but the last time was the one that really sank in, is when you're in that state, you're in your underwear, your balls are hanging out and whatever, that's when everybody comes to see you. So we went to see this man. He did a lot of work at the Wat that we go to. He was a very nice man, lived in the local village, a rice farmer his whole life. He was, a little young to pass away, but he had some health issues. He was maybe in his late 60s, and he was in and out, laying there, and everybody, people just come in, and my wife comes in, and we're there, and it was just, I don't know how to say it. It was different, right? And like I said, this isn't the first time, but this was a time where, my wife, everybody wants to touch him and hold his hand and, and talk to him. It was very interesting. Not the first time, but the most interesting time. And we spent a couple hours there, right? I couldn't stand there more than 20, 30 minutes at a time by his bedside. Anyway, we went home, and sure enough, that evening, my wife got a call that he had passed away. But it's just a different way that Buddhists deal with death, life and death, actually. I'll do a few more videos on Buddhism because it's really very interesting. Okay, hope you found this interesting, helpful, informational. Okay, coming at you from the third world. Take care.